So, what is this longer podcast about? Well, if I said to you, it's in that woo-woo la-la way of follow your heart, it's sort of that. But I'm not into that woo-woo. I love woo-woo la-la when it works, because there's some things that work, but there's a reason they work. It's just the way people sometimes put it over. But it's following that intuition, but in the right way, not just blindly. And when you do it, the results you can have. But also, I'm going to go through examples in my life that I've learned from. There's a real big learning on a very silly little thing I did. But there's also some deeper stuff I did and ways I did it. I hope that makes sense. I hope that just makes you just a little bit curious to know what I'm talking about. Because when you get what I share with you, it's going to make a difference to you completely. It's going to make that adventure that we call our lives so rich. Really will. Have a listen after this. Hey, for those of you who don't know what this podcast's about, well, it's all about obviously personal development. Unplugged, why unplugged? Well, what we're going to do is break down, deconstruct all the things that are made bloody difficult by a lot of people. They tell you what they're doing, but they don't tell you how they did it. And that's what we're going to do, break down what they do into the hows and make wonderful changes. There'll be things that are stopping you, and we'll be helping you find out why that's happening and how can you change that. Because when you do, dreams become reality, and you then become a dreamer of big dreams, creating the most wonderful, brightest, most exciting new reality you can ever find. Anyway, that's it. Who am I? I'm Paul Clough. I'm an NLP trainer, a master hypnotist. I do all sorts of things that will blow your mind. Come and enjoy it with me.
Warning. You are entering into the unplugged mind of Paul Clough. Too late. Personal Development Unplugged.
Hey, back again for a longer podcast. Oh, you're a glutton for punishment. Anyway, I'm going to start off with my meta description of this podcast. I'm starting with it, but actually when I did my notes, this was the last thing I did, because it's like my summary, looking down upon all my notes and my thoughts in my head. And it is consciously and unconsciously following your heart. Now, what does that mean? Well, I've got a couple of stories to tell you which might give you a better understanding. Way back, I can remember I was in Cambridge, and in my garden I have what I described in a book that I wrote and other places that I've talked about. And I had a quiet place. In fact, I called it my quiet place. I actually wrote a poem about it. And it's quite weird because I'm not a poet. But when I wrote that poem from my unconscious mind, as it were, into my conscious pen, it just seemed to make sense. But this was my quiet place. Maybe you've got an equivalent in your life. I mean, for me, it didn't look very much. But I was under this canopy, and I used to have like a grapevine growing over it with all the leaves. I had my table, and on that table was a Buddha. I even had an old candle on it, but it just looked so nice, in a lovely brass candle holder. I had a space for my book, had my chair, and in the corner just over there was like an old barrel, and water barrel. And I put a lining to it, and in there was a lovely plant, and it was a weird plant. I don't normally see them very often, but I don't even know what they're called now. But there's this lovely plant that just grew in water. And funny enough, the odd frog or toad would sometimes jump in there and splash about, and you just see their head come up and go down. And it was just a lovely place to be, a place where I could go and think. It was a place I'd go to write my journal. I'd be up, if I woke up whatever time in the morning, I would trudge out into the garden with my cup of coffee. Whether I was wrapped up because it was winter, the only thing I didn't have was gloves on, I'd have a big woolly hat, scarf, big coat, but I'd always go there. In the summer, nice mornings. In fact, my younger son used to do the same thing. He used to follow me out at different times. And in fact, you could see a little path being made across our lawn to where we'd both walk the same way, the same path as it were. And we have walked the same path. A weird metaphor, really. Just thought about that. And the thing is, I would sit there and write in my journal, or during the day, if I had something to think about, that would be where I would go. Sometimes I'd have another chair there, I'd stick my feet up and lay back a little bit and just think, muse. It's quiet. Even though I was in a town, that part of the garden to me was just quiet. And I could disappear into my thoughts. I wonder if you've got a place like that, or whether you could find one, but that's an aside. And you see, one day I was there with my journal and I suddenly had this burst of excitement because I had some intuition come into my mind. And it was all about setting up a new website. I thought, this is what I want to do. I want to create a new website. And it's all about improving your relationships. And I thought, I got this feeling in my heart. And I got the heart pumping and my pen was making notes. And I quickly ran inside, got on my computer. Was that domain available? Improving your relationships. .co.uk. Absolutely, it was available. It's meant to be, I thought. It's just meant to be. I'm just going to do it. And I got so excited. I bought the domain. I started getting things. And if you think of me as being a website designer, developer, I am not. But I was going to do it. And I put not my heart and soul, but I did put an awful lot of excited energy into it. I just went for it. This was the thing. I'll let you know what happened in a moment. Because you see, there's another memory I have, and it's sort of the opposite, I guess. And I did get a little bit of intuition. I'd been suggested it a couple of times for reasons I won't go into, but there were caring reasons. It was suggested that maybe I should go to trainers training. And that's NLP trainers training, to become a trainer of NLP. I was already a master practitioner, but then to the next level. And I go, I'm not sure. And I got this persuasion. And inside there was that little bit of excitement. Just a little bit. And you know that where you just keep thinking of it. It doesn't quite go away. And I wasn't jumping at it. So it wasn't that type of excitement. But it was just like just a little flicker, a little flame maybe flickering. But as I thought about it, trainers training, I'm not sure about that. And anxiety would come in. And why am I getting anxious about something that I'm not even doing? I haven't even said I'm going to do it. I haven't put myself out there, but I was putting myself through anxiety about trainers training. Even that tiny burst of excitement kept coming back, but kept getting overwhelmed by this anxiety. Like, who the hell do you think you are, Cluffy? Yeah, you're master prac. You got through that. I don't know how, but you did. You're seeing people. You do your therapy. Don't know how you do that. All this imposter stuff started to come through my head. All imposter syndrome. And if you go there, they're really going to find you out. They will, and you're going to have to come back and tell people. Oh, no. And also, because you love NLP so much and love hypnosis so much, what will that do to your love of hypnosis, to your love of NLP? But again, there was a little bit of pushing from other people and from me as well, because I still had that little flame inside me. But I still had that anxiety. And I very, very nearly didn't do it. I nearly shut it right down because that anxiety was just a little bit more than I could take. And also, that imposter stuff. And I say now, in hindsight, stupid imposter stuff. But at the time, it was so real. And you see, even though I would nearly shut it down, every moment, or not every moment, but every now and again, that's a better way of putting it, Cluffy, every now and again, that little flame of excitement would just keep coming through. It'd never actually be extinguished. Doesn't matter how much anxiety or bad thoughts, I call them bad thoughts, but negative thoughts. Come on, Cluffy, get your words right. Those negative thoughts and taking on those negative feelings of things that hadn't happened, still there. And I decided to make a decision then. I thought to myself, I have to make a decision. And you know, I'm an options person. I love options. In fact, sometimes I have so many options that I don't like being an options person. But on this particular one, I thought, well, I'm going to make a decision and I'm not going to have 10 options because there's only 2 options, to go or not go. But I need to go through them thoroughly, take out this imposter stress, take out this little flame for the moment and take like this meta view. And I looked at it. And you also got to remember, it was really difficult because obviously there was some stuff I was going through at the time, which is one of the reasons why people were suggesting I ought to go somewhere. Very tactfully and lovingly they were saying that, but that's aside. But you see, Cluffy, Paul, wasn't a traveller. He liked to stay close at home. And certainly in the UK, I was going to have to travel, probably stay in London somewhere. That didn't really enthuse me. But I looked around the internet for all the UK type trainings. And then I looked at the ones in USA. And my son had been on one and I looked at it and thought, I don't really like that one. I love what that particular training trained, but I just didn't want to follow his footsteps because he'd become a trainer way before me, way back when he was 20 something, really young. And I thought to myself, I don't know. But I found a place in America and it was somebody who I really respected. And usually as usual with my options, I kept having to email them about questions I had in my mind. I needed someone to, in some ways, fill in those little gaps, you see. I had to really work out in my options, what will I lose by not doing it? And what will I gain by not doing it? What will I lose by not doing it? And what will I gain by doing it? Or whatever way around it was, you understand. And I was still having that excitement and I was still having that imposter stuff, but I managed to push it out as far as I could using all my little skills, my states, my intentions and all that stuff. And I started to write this stuff down. As you know, I'm a great believer in writing that stuff down. So I thought to myself, was it reasons for not going? It's going to cost you a lot of money, Paul, because it wasn't cheap. It wasn't cheap. And if you think, at the time I didn't want to go to the UK, I wanted to go to America because I was really looking at this one particular guy, someone who I really respected in the field of NLP. And there wasn't just him, there was other people as trainers, and they were people who I really respected too. And that really pulled me. But I thought, that's a lot of money. If you don't like it, that's a lot of money to burn. Also, time. You're going to take a month out of work. So it's a month out of work I'm not getting paid for. What also could I lose? Well, I could actually lose my confidence because I didn't have an awful lot of confidence in that particular place I was in. And the little confidence that I did have, what would happen if that went? And also security. Being in that funny little place, doing nothing seemed quite safe, really. But then missing out on an opportunity. That was pulling and pushing me. And that anxiety, what would happen if that anxiety was true? It would be a waste of my time and money and losing my confidence. They're the downsides, and they're pretty big, weren't they? And then I thought to myself, well, what else is there around? You see, I'm an introvert as well, which is why I don't travel very far, I think. But I'd be in and around a group of people who I know just by being the people I think who would be at an NLP trainers training. They would be people who would accept me. And that seemed to knock out that imposter stuff when I thought about it, because I thought, well, they're really good people. Everyone I've met of a similar nature has always been a nice person. And another positive, I would be learning even more, getting really deeper into that subject of NLP that I love. And if I was to learn more and find more friends, or just acquaintances, what would happen to my confidence then? What would happen with learning more stuff at a completely different level? Wow, I had to think about that. And I wonder, from there, it would be silly to become a trainer of NLP and not train. I wonder what opportunities might come. What would I do? Well, as you know, I went. And now, what I want to talk about now is, just before we go to the results of both of those, there's that little question of intention. It should always be considered, shouldn't it? So what was the intention of setting up a Improve Your Relations site? Now, this is in hindsight now, because at the time I didn't take it in. But what could it have been? And I started to explore it. And one of the things is it felt good. There was no downside. Okay, there's a little bit of money. And to be fair, it isn't a great deal of money just to set up a website, get a domain name. I'd already got someone to host it, so that just adding on. It was my time. But hey, it felt good. Using your time to feel good, that was awesome. It also took my attention away from the way I was feeling. In fact, I got really absorbed into it. You know, we talk about being in the flow. If you had an experience like that where time just seems to disappear, you're in the moment, things are just, I'm thinking about that, we're going to do this, and oh man, that's sort of a good intention, isn't it? Because I was okay there. And then I thought to myself, and this is again thinking back with 2020 hindsight, what was just below that? Well, it was taking me away from any negative feelings I had. And I was still going through some stuff. And also, and this is like a little mini aha moment I had, I was writing about and creating the narrative for a website about improving your relations or relationships. And thinking about it back then, I need to do some work on myself, on my relationship with myself and other people. And I didn't see it at the time, but the things I wrote about, it's a bit like when I talk about my journal. When I'm journaling, when I do get lost in the flow of it, it's as if I'm talking to myself and but it's the other way around, not me out consciously talking to my unconscious mind. It's like my unconscious mind is talking to my conscious mind. So I was actually learning about me and what was happening in my life. And there was no sadness in that, which was a bit of what was happening. See, my unconscious mind gave me a vehicle, I guess, to help me. Luckily, it didn't have any long-term constraints in money. Now I've thought about that, and that's really made me think, because it was a good thing to do. I'll tell you the results of it in a moment. You see, well, I'll tell you the results now, because even though it made me unconsciously, covertly as it were, my unconscious mind covertly got me to think and write about relationships, the conflict that goes on, not the conflict of arguing, but the conflict of going that's inside you. Remember, introvert, extrovert, loving yourself, loving other people. And you know what? Here's the result. It was the greatest failure as a sort. That website did nothing, absolutely nothing in the way of getting people to come and work with me for relationship advice. Because when I think about it now, I'm not I'm not a couples therapist. Yeah, I could help people, I know, but that's not my niche. That's not my main area of interest. And in fact, when I think back at it now, in my conscious mind, it was like steady, fire, aim, because I didn't think. But it was what a wonderful thing that my unconscious mind did covertly. And I thought that was great. But then let's go back to trainers training. You see, I hadn't gone yet. I decided to go. And I had thought long and hard. It consumed an awful lot of time. I was going backwards and forwards, different websites, mailing those questions, as I told you. And then one of the deciding factors was, I remember now, was I did something that I do with a lot of my clients now, my core work, as it were. And it was my what will it mean to me mind map, where I really go deeply into my values, the effects of those values, and then the effects of those values on my emotions, the things that I could get from that. And it just seemed to make sense then, because I've done that, the options of what I'm going to gain, what I'm going to lose. But when I thought about it as a mind map and looked at my values, the effects and the emotions, it just had to go. I just had to go. Deep down, I just knew now intuitively this would change my life. It had to be right, and I had to decide. But I had to decide just for me. Forget the other people trying to do whatever they did out of love to try to get me to places and do things. I had to decide for me, and I did. And that was a big jump, because intuitively, as I said, I knew life would not be the same. And here's what happened, you see. The first thing I had to do, because there's a month off work, and I'm one of 2 people running a business. We've got loads of people working with us. And Mike, my business partner, I had to tell him, I said, hey Mike, I've been thinking about, in fact, I've actually made a decision, I want to go to trainers training, and it's in America. He went, oh, great, I'm so pleased. Yeah, it'd be great time to go. How long's it for? I said, July. He said, yeah, how long in July? I said, no, July, Mike. It'll be the whole month of July. And, okay, then I'll back you. And he always did. He always supported me in everything I did. He especially knew what I was going through, so he was supportive. But it was one question where we had a little bit of a silence, because he said, well, what's going to happen when you get back? And I said, do you know what, Mike? I don't know. I really don't know. All I know is that things will be very different, but I don't know in which way. And you're going to have to trust me, because I don't know, but I've just got to do it. It's something I've decided I just have to do now. And bless his little soul, cotton socks, he said, go for it. We'll do something. So what happened? I went by myself. Cluffy don't travel, but he went by himself all the way to the west coast of America. But here's the thing. I don't talk to people. Being the introvert, I met a wonderful person on the plane. I'd seen her on the plane. And then when we went to pick up the coach to go to the university, NLP University, she was waiting for the coach. And we just hit it off. Not in a romantic way. No, nothing like that. Just as really good friends. And that was awesome. So even my first bit, it started wonderful. And then what happened? First day there. And these are the days I smoked. And I'd given away my lighter. Because those days you couldn't take a lighter on the plane. I don't know if you can do now because I don't smoke. And there was 3 girls sitting on the steps waiting to go to breakfast, just having their morning cigarette. And I wanted one, so I just walked up to them, because when you want a cigarette, that introvert goes. And said, excuse me, can I have a light, please? And yeah. Oh, sit down, Paul. They didn't know my name, but sit down, have a chat. 3 women, girls. They were going to change my life. They were going to be part of my changing life. But I didn't know it then, because this was day 1 of the first month of the whole month. And things just got better and better. I met people out in that group. I just knew when I said I thought they'd be supportive. They were hugely supportive. I even got ill over there during that month. I had a really raging temperature. It was as if I had like the flu or something like that. But I got through it all. Me and my unconscious mind, my conscious mind, we just got through it. And there were people to help me if I had a little wobble. They were there. What's happened since then through that, though? As I said, the 3 women, the 3 girls. 1, 2, 4. Oh, what am I saying? There was 4 of them. That's how brave I was. I went up to 4 women who were sitting there. But anyway, go backwards. Those 4 women set up an NLP school in Israel and invited Joseph, my youngest son, and I to go and train loads actually, of their practitioners. That was awesome. And because of that, though, I was working so much closer with my youngest son. He now actually resides in the USA. I don't, but we're still working together. But we were actually doing trainings in the UK and now in Israel. And now we're actually working different sides of the pond, but doing work online, coaching and things like that. Awesome. But I also did trainings on my own. And they were just so different. So I did trainings with him on my own. It was such a big difference. And as I say, it's changed my life. I'm here with you now. Such a different thing. And I've just realised it is just a process that's never stopping. And I don't know. It's one of those things that when you get that intuition, just because there's a bit of anxiety there, don't let it go. If you just, I'm sure you've got your own processes, but just would like, if you followed my little, if you modelled me just to see how it worked with those options. But ultimately, look at what it will really mean to you in the short term, the long term, emotionally, because you will be amazed. You can move through your barriers because they're not barriers. They're just self-imposed. But when you trust in your unconscious mind, but also trust in your conscious mind for doing the right things. So I wonder, how curious can you be about those intuitions that you're getting? Maybe I've got this tiny little hope for you. Well, hope for me, for you, that you're maybe just a little bit inspired. Hopefully a lot inspired, but just a little bit inspired. That there's something that's that little flame inside you that will start to grow and glow even brighter, that you can act upon. And in fact, that little metaphor of that flame is the first story I told at Trainers Training about my love for NLP and my worries for coming and going to Trainers Training, but how that flame just seemed to grow and glow brighter with every second being there. And yours can too. And I don't want you to miss out. And that's what it was really about, I guess. There's so many things that life has to offer. You know that, don't you? Just below the surface, you really know that. But do you really know what you want or what is on offer? And if you found out what was on offer, could you take that leap of faith in yourself, that love for yourself, and do those things? I believe you can. Because whatever you think you are, you're more than that. And you're more than even that thought. And if it's a lack of confidence, all you have to do is look through the hypnosis tracks or even my Supreme Inner Confidence course. This isn't a plug for that, but it is. If you're a member of the community, you've signed up for the hypnosis tracks, you get a massive discount on that. Massive discount. And it's money back guaranteed anyway. So if you're not happy with it in that first 30 days and it doesn't take 30 days to do, you'll get your money back. All you got to lose is that unconfidence, that low self-esteem. But if it's that, you could do things, as I say, the right things come along at the right time. But you need to make a decision to do something about it, even if it's not to do it, to make a pure, conscious decision. I've thought about it. I've mused about it. I've really looked at what's happening. What is the intention for either the negativity, the positivity? What I'm going to get out of it? What's going to mean to me? What's the bottom line? If it's not going to cost you very much, sometimes steady, fire, aim is the right thing to do. Because when you look back, you suddenly realize, like I did, my unconscious mind was covertly cuddling me, looking after me, getting me to do things that I wasn't sure about, but it gave me such a great excitement to do that I just got lost in it. And this was years ago, by the way, years ago. And it's only when I've been writing these notes did that thought come to me. I thought, you're clever, Cluffy. Well, not me, my inner Cluffy, my you and I. And the whole thing about this, and this is for me as well, is it's so good to remind yourself of these type of things. So when you do suddenly get that burst of inspiration or someone mentions something to you, gives you an opportunity that instead of just suddenly saying, oh, no, you actually go, give me a moment. Give me some time just to sit down for a spell. I love that. Let's just sit down for a spell and think about it, muse. And when you make that decision, it can be the most awe-inspiring thing, because that Trainers Training to me was one of the biggest hurdles in my life. But when I decided, I did it. And you know what? Everything that I thought was a negative didn't exist anymore. And it didn't exist while I did it, and it didn't exist after. And the positive sides, and also those values, that what will it mean to me, and what will I gain, what will I lose? Do you know what? They didn't come anywhere close to how good it was, and how good things have happened, all the opportunities that have happened since then. and the relationships that have fostered since then. It was only the other day that one of the trainers on that course, he reminded me, I think he said it is either 14 or 16 years ago, I think it was 14 years ago, got in touch with me to do some work with him. Awesome. And just these things happen. So remember, sometimes following your heart can be a good thing, but not just randomly, especially if there's a consequence. Think of the consequences, because a lot of people say just follow your heart, and that's great. But sometimes there's a bit of ego in there, and we need to look at it. I mean, if I couldn't have afforded to go to America, and I couldn't have taken the time off, and I'd given up everything with a load of debt, those may not have been the right thing to do at that time. But hey, it was a great thing to do, and it was a big thing to do for me. So I'd love you if you would. Here's something, just a little thing. Now, whether you do it this way or another way, is just take some time. Take some time out of your day and just consider what else. What else can you think of doing that would really inspire you? What opportunities are maybe just on your peripheral? And if you just open up your peripheral vision in all senses, could you allow yourself to explore? Because remember, this life is not a journey. Not to me anyway. It's an adventure. It has its ups and downs. It has its excitement. Sometimes, we do trip over. But when we know where we're going, or we've got an idea where we're going, and our unconscious mind knows where we're going, we'll be safe. You and I, we will be safe. But maybe just sit down with a cup of tea, coffee, a beer, glass of wine, put some music on, and just muse with a journal. I wonder, what wonderful things would I really love to do? Because this may be the only life we have. I don't know if it is. No one knows, do they? But whether it is or it isn't, it's now. The time is now. We don't live in the past. Well, not productively. And if we live in the future, we won't get anything done. But in the now. But we can create a wonderful past by looking in the future sometimes and creating it right now. So if you could just spend 20 minutes, half an hour, allowing your mind to be open to those type of things, I believe that you would find more richness. Yeah, that's what it is. You'd find more richness, more excitement, more love, more caring, more compassion, more adventure. In whatever way adventure means to you. So if adventure frightens you a little bit, it would be a different adventure for you, because it would be your adventure that you're tailoring, because you're putting yourself through that barrier to get more. Because that barrier does dissolve easily once you do something like the process I've just described. And sometimes it's also just great to look back on experiences like we've just looked back on, my experiences. But I know in your life you've got similar experiences, things you did in a heartbeat. Some of them maybe didn't have the right, I've done things that didn't have a good ending, by the way. And you've got to learn from them. But when we look back, just have a look, what was the intention? What could I have done differently? What can I learn from this? What are the things I did enjoy, even if it didn't work? What did I enjoy from that so I can find it again? And the things that did work really well, what can I find about that I can expand even more? All these things add to a rich life. And that's what I want for you, a rich life. For you to, not only think about dreams, have dreams, and I don't mean just dreaming them out, their wishes, but encourage you to have dreams and wishes that you're going to fulfill, have come in your reality. And that means everything you've done in the past will have created it, because you've learned of everything in the past, the things that work well or things that maybe didn't quite work as well, and you're putting it all together. Because in that way, any fear that you have has to disappear, because your unconscious mind will be with you, totally congruent, totally aligned, because will be coming from a place of learning, experience, of value. And again, then it doesn't matter what anybody says. Because when I went to trainers training, just like when I went to the hypnosis training, the very start of my NLP, people used to say, I don't know why you're doing that. God dear, spending a month doing that? How much? That was their problem. That was their like little rocks they were throwing. It didn't bother me because they didn't exist anymore, because I was focusing on something else. And then you can confirm your suspicion that your life is rich, that one below the surface. So sometimes just look back over the things that, like I say, we have done together here on my life, and learn from it and have that good feeling, and be open to that 20 minutes, half hour of musing about what you can do. And then in a few months' time or whatever, do it over and over again. This, to me, the thing I've learned is this to me is something that I need to do. I need to do it on a regular basis. Because when I do, I know things are going to happen. And I also know, although I've been sharing this with you, and it's come from, right from my heart. I don't bullshit. I don't tell you how it wasn't. But I know deep down, this, just like that improving your relationships domain, this is me talking to me, giving me that little heads up. But the good thing about it is, by sharing it with you, I've still got it. Now you've got it. Now I want you to take it and do whatever you like, but make it even better. There you go. Have more fun than you can stand. And always, if there's any golden nugget, and hopefully I've left a trail of them all over the place, but if there's golden nuggets in here, please share them with everyone. But share them with yourself. And when you share them with yourself and everyone else, we're all going to get it. And share them back with me if you would. feedback@personaldevelopmentunplugged.com. Just send me a lovely little email. You'll get a personal reply from me. Doesn't go anywhere else. Straight to me. Just let me know. Maybe the things that you've done in the past, or the things you're going to do. I'd love to hear about the things you're going to do. That would be awesome. So do all of that. In a moment, I'm going to be reminding you of various things, so don't go away. I'll remind you of maybe an old episode. I'll be reminding you of the discount for that Supreme Inner Confidence. But I'll also be reminding you of, there's a hypnosis track that's free, and it will reduce your anxiety, and lots of other stuff. And also another hypnosis track that should be out by now, but if it isn't, it'll be coming out very shortly. And that'll be going in the big chunk of free hypnosis tracks. So stay, even though I've nearly told you now, stay a little bit longer and I'll tell you all about it. Okay? I'll see you in a minute, and then I'll see you in a little while. So what about an old episode? Let me remind you of one way back from, April this year. It was #173, and it's called A Sense of Purpose. But the difference is, it's called A Sense of Purpose Hypnotically. Whoa. So this is maybe one of my first real hypnosis tracks or hypnosis processes within an episode. So have a listen if you want. Just go back to #173, or just look for A Sense of Purpose on your platform of choice. Okay? And maybe you just notice what you could have missed, or what you did miss. Okay? Here's the introduction, just to give you an idea what it's about. Here's your heads up, my friend. This one's a bit sort of walk-in hypnosis type thing. So do be warned. If you've got to do anything, if you listen to this while you're driving or anything like that, please don't. Or don't listen to it. Listen to it when you get home and you have nothing else to do to take your attention, because it is a bit trancey. And I want you safe and sound. So please do not do anything that needs your attention. And then when you've got that free time, have a listen. But if you've got that free time now, you get a pen and pencil maybe. That helps too with this one. Oh, Paul, homework? No, not homework. This is just a recording of things that may just happen all by themselves. Please enjoy. Please enjoy. And remember, this podcast is all about deconstructing the complicated into easy processes. And this is exactly what I've done here. And it came to me a long time ago nearly a year ago. And I've just rediscovered it because I never used it. Anyway, I explain that all in the podcast. Have a listen after this. Hey, so this is what I garbled on about. First of all, if you sign up to the free hypnosis that goes with this podcast, go to paulcloughonline.com/podcast and there'll be a new hypnosis track. I've taken the hypnosis track from that longer podcast, Hostile Relations or Relationships, and created a lovely, well, taken the process but put it into deep hypnosis. I think you'll find that's really, well, I just think it's good. I think it's really good. So you can go there, enjoy that, sign up. If you've signed up already, you'll get an email to say it's up. Okay. There's also, if you sign up, you'll find that you will be entitled to a massive discount on my Supreme Inner Confidence School. I call it Supreme because I big it up a little bit, but it's all about letting go of any unconfidence, low self-esteem, learning from the past, creating what you need in the now, and then allowing yourself to dream and really plan for the future. It's a great program I've got. So you'll get access to that discount on there. And it's a massive discount. What have you got to lose? There's a money back guarantee. And the only thing you have got to lose is your unconfidence and low self-esteem. There you go. But also, if you go to paulcloughonline.com, just without the podcast at the end, if you go there, there's a free hypnosis track there too. And it's all about reducing your anxiety by by about 50% in 15 minutes. So there's some great stuff going on. Obviously, I'd love you to subscribe to this podcast. So wherever you're listening to it, whatever app and things like that you listen to, if you could just subscribe, that would be awesome because that helps immensely to get other people listening. If there's a chance of giving a little review, that would be awesome too. And if you give a review and I can find it or you tell me about it, I will come back to you and I'll talk to you in a special way. And as I said, if you could just share this podcast, this episode, it makes such a difference to the people that you love and the people that you just know. And even, don't have to like them, but you just know that when they start to change by using the philosophy that you and I have in this personal development, unplugged nature, the world is going to get better for you and everyone else. There you go. So that's me. Now we're going to leave this unplugged mind of mine.
Warning, you are now leaving the unplugged mind of Paul Clough. It's time to fly on your own. Be brave, my friend.
Personal Development Unplugged.